has a number item as well.
Mr. Bederow.
Thank you, Judge.
Honestly, go fuck yourself, sir. You don't say that, okay? You don't lose a trial where a jury acquits someone and find them overwhelmingly not guilty and say, I gave my sincere obligation to look into this, and I'm telling you all I saw when she's guilty. Again, respectfully, go fuck yourself.
Swear again like that. That was, no, I mean, whatever. That was, I shouldn't have done that.
A few moments later.
You, as a prosecutor, have got to be out of your fucking mind.
Nose.
Dude, Jimmy, look at those ears.
The ears don't bother me as much.
No, I don't trust a man. I don't trust a man with a lobe like that. No,
really,
not a fucking chance.
The mouth is butthole to me.
Very thin, paper thin.
The nose.
Oh, the nose.
The brows.
Well, listen, I will tell you though, I kind of like a fucked up nose on a guy.
I like a big old honker. I like a big nose.
Old nose. Give me that big bitch. You know,
yeah,
like, I'm into it.
Come over here, cluck cluck.
Yeah.
I see some chickens that went moving on up in my biz, cluck cluck. You gotta be with the kids, the kids, the kids, the kids, the kids, kids.
And I go, oop, clutch, clench, kegel. We did it all. And I go, oh, and what happened? And they go, well, we just got 4,000 plus pages, bitch. And I said, stop it. Show me it. Take me to Unimpound Town immediately, if not sooner. So what happens?
The bitch is here.
Why are you at a football game? Are you a Fonz correspondent?
Well, no, because it's only for men over 30. Okay? Have a great night, boys. Fuck off.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me.
Hey, Blues Clues, motherfucker.
Good morning, lovies. We are gathered here today for a special fallback Sunday service. And we have the presence of whom? Our emotional support attorney, Mr. Mark Bederow. You may ask yourselves why, Kimberly, why do you look small? Okay, why have you put yourself in this like weird situation? It's because Mr. Bederow is a man of mystery. Okay, he's a man of many TVs, and he will tell you why himself. I'm exhausted. You are exhausted. Want to know why? Because we got our hearts broken last night by the BJs. Okay, here he is. The man, the myth, the legend, Attorney Mark Bederow.
How are you?
Hi, Mr. Bederow.
Hi. That was quite a lead-in. Yeah, I switched monitors, so I'm using a large TV. Did a little office reshuffling, and you can't tilt and adjust. So with the camera that it has, it's kind of a larger picture as opposed to zooming based. So that's what it is. Okay.
I love it. Listen, I'm here, babe. If you're here, I'm here, and we are here together. So give me, first and foremost, I wasn't able to update my intro to include your Monday morning epic Batman entrance into what felt like a real masterclass in powerful entrances. Okay, that was top tier, chair spinning, Peter Trago style. Tell me everything.
It was gratuitous. He does this little intro, and I was closing the blinds behind me, which are closed right now, but we get a lot of sunlight in here, and sometimes it can impact the screen. And I was just closing the blinds, and he was on. So I just tried to twirl around and get on in time. I didn't think much of it. I didn't think he was gonna use it in any way. And I mean, whatever. It's funny, but it's really gratuitous.
It's the best. It is. It brought me so much joy on it. You know how like Mondays technically suck. And just watching you and him, but like that preview that he gave and the clip he made, I was howling. It was so good.
It's funny.
Love it.
I mean, whatever. It's for other people. I saw it. I laughed. It was funny, but there's really nothing to it.
I don't see. I find it slick. I don't think it's funny. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's just, it's like, oh, he's so cool that he doesn't even know. Him turning and just like sliding into action is basically you impersonified.
Thank you. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Sorry.
He made a funny about it, and it was funny. So, I'll take it.
I love it. I loved it. So, okay, I am going to update my intro though, because I have to incorporate, it has to, it's Mr. Bederow Riz that, the people know. And if you don't know what Riz is, guys, it's charisma. And my kids taught me that. So cool. Anywho, last night, my heart, I was pounding out of my chest. Okay. I'm not a BJ's girl. I'm just I'm a Red Sox girl always, and well, Blue Jays, whatever. I've been calling it. Yeah, whatever. So, but they're not my team. Okay. Toronto is not my team. They're not my humans, but somehow I felt connected. I'm always rooting for the underdog. Right. And Dodgers, although they are Red Sox adjacent, which they are, right? Because you've got your Mookie, you've got their team is understandably Red Sox adjacent. I don't give a shit. I need it. I was feeling it. I was like, they're going to get it. They deserve it. And, what a run, what a great fought battle. And I really thought it was happening in the 10th, and it just didn't,
I mean, it was a great series. Probably one of the best series of all time. And as far as game sevens go, is probably right up there with amongst the greatest of all time. I mean, the Dodgers, they are what they are. They're basically the Yankees now. The whole Mookie Betts thing is just sickening still all these years later. But, it doesn't offend me like the Yankees. I don't really care. I have nothing for the Blue Jays one way or the other. Those poor Canadians, though, they don't win anything.
Oh.
They haven't won a Stanley Cup since 1993, I believe, and hockey's their game. That's the last time the Blue Jays won. I think it was the same year, 93, right? They won in 92 and 93. Incredible series, but, they lost 3 out of 4 home games, and you can't expect to win a 7-game series if you go 1-3 with home field advantage.
Yeah. Truth be told, you are smarter with all of this than I am, because I am Red Sox. I bleed for Red Sox Patriots. I'm not as your Celtics. You bleed for the Celtics. You are an absolute avid fan. Thank you, Lovey.
Red Sox too. They just haven't been great lately, although they're getting much better. Oh,
yes.
Seasonal
Delivery.
By the way, we should give the Toronto Raptors their due. They did win a title a few years ago. So
good for them.
We forgot them in our anti-Canadian bias. Sorry.
Yes. Well, I just it's always because if you go back to our history, right? Or as history as from New England, it's that we reversed the curse, right? In baseball. It was really what a time to be alive. 2004, again, the electricity, there is, to me, that feels all time. And I just know that we had so much disappointment before then in our teams for a while. Like in the 80s, the Celtics were incredible, clearly with Bird and with the big three. But we are not. We then got used to winning so much that it was the dynasties of the Patriots, and then the Red Sox had 04, 7. Then was it 13? There was just so many years that we were able to celebrate the Celtics in between. Yeah. And now we don't.
Yeah, no, obviously growing up, well, I'm a little older than you, but in the 80s, the Celtics were the Celtics. The Red Sox were good. Everybody knows about 86. That's a traumatic thing. In that time period, the Bruins were really good, but never great. and they lost 2 cup finals. And the Patriots had the one Super Bowl year where they humiliated themselves in the Super Bowl against the Chicago Bears to the point where they had William Refrigerator Perry scoring touchdowns rather than Walter Payton, that was embarrassing.
Oh, yeah. Who's that? Is that Lola or Winnie talking to us this morning?
That's Lola. Winnie is a much deeper, less houndy. Lola's kind of houndy because she's got, 50% dingo, 50% wolf, God knows what else in her.
She's a dingo. I love that. I can relate.
We don't know what the hell Lola is.
She's awesome. That's what she is. Queen. Okay. So yeah, that was just, did you stay up and you watched all last night?
Some of it.
Whoa.
I had it on in the background. Again, great game, but it's, when I was a kid, I would always watch every inning of every World Series. But when the teams are not what you care about, it's a little less. So it's background. Last night I watched the end of Black Rabbit on Netflix, which I watched the last 2 or 3 episodes. I hadn't finished that. So I had both going on at the same time.
Oh, I love that. And what I did was, the reason I think I was also so in on it is because I had a bet on it. Okay. And I had made just a instinctual bet with whom, you ask? Michael Montante. Okay. And he has Excel spreadsheets. He does this whole entire thing. And I was like, gut feeling, here what it is. Woman's intuition. It's gotta be Toronto. And I was willing it. Okay. And unfortunately I did pay that debt. Okay. The debt has been paid. And, just another feather in the NK cap of really, did you need to bet? It's not even your team, like, who do you think you are?
Yeah. Hey, I don't do that. So, I don't, I don't gamble. I don't play fantasy sports, any of that stuff.
Oh,
yeah. No fantasy football for me.
Oh, I would have thought you would have been a fantasy guy. No.
My son is big on it. He wins his league every year, but I don't do it because I don't want to root for guys that are adverse to the team I like or start following individuals. To me, that defeats the whole purpose of enjoying the competition of sports. Some people, they love it. We have Red Zone, we have all of that crap, and that's a staple in our house on Sunday, but I don't need the Red Zone to see what a running back from the Falcons is doing and how many touchdowns does he have. And this is more important than whether the Patriots are going to win. I just can't do it.
I hear you. I like that. I like a purist. Okay. Very, very, very appreciative. Now, Speaking of Falcons though, Patriots Falcons today, what time? You tell me everything.
1:00, when you suck, which they have historically for the past few years, and you are an East Coast team, you play on Sunday at 1:00 virtually every week. That's going to change next year. They're going to be back to getting some 4:00 Sunday games, maybe a Sunday night game. They do have a Monday night game later this month against the Giants. But for this year, they are a 1:00 Sunday team through and through because, they weren't a big draw, but the reality is they are going to be a big draw because they have a stud quarterback. They've got some other good players, and they're good again.
Yeah,
out of nowhere. It's great.
Cats are back.
Yeah,
just saying. Yeah. So I will be watching. I have also maybe I have like a gambling thing because I do like a weekly thing that I got into some pool like before the season. My friend Dawn does it. And I get like just the last numbers of the score for each game of the season. It goes until the Super Bowl, and then we'll have a Super Bowl one. But I have not hit any of those. Thank you very much. And I think today my numbers are 7 and 4. So let's go, Kimberly. Now, thank you for discussing all of all sports talk. And now let's jump into the week that was Commonwealth Edition. How did you feel? I'll start with Birchmore because that's been the most heavy on my heart, Mr. Bederow, is that we learned this week that the feds have give a second count to Matthew Farwell for the death of a unborn, embryo or a fetus. And it was discovered, or it was made public, that it was a 8 to 10 week old male. And it was just, I feel like it was the right thing to do. I feel like I had those questions when the first indictment came around last summer, but I just wanted to hear your take on what you thought of that charge and what that means moving forward.
Well, it's overdue. I mean, federal law permits it. It's been on the books, I think, since like 2004, give or take, maybe a little earlier, where without getting into the politics of fetuses and embryos and all of that type of stuff.
It's a baby, yeah.
There is a baby who is a mother is killed carrying a viable, then you can charge for the death or murder, if you will, of the unborn child. And so all they're doing is just adding that, which is the right thing to do. I mean, the woman was pregnant, it's provable, and he caused the death of a young lady and her unborn child. So, I guess the only thing you could say is what took him so long.
Exactly. And why do you think it did take them so long?
I don't know. I mean, they just banged out an indictment. The feds very often in complicated cases supersede, which is essentially what they did. They just re-indict, add new charges. Perhaps they wanted to investigate a little more and find out more about the unborn child. I mean, we're speculating, but it isn't that uncommon, where somebody gets indicted, it's a placeholder, and as the investigation continues, they re-indict, supersede, legally speaking, and add more charges. It's not that uncommon.
Okay. Little scuttlebutt was heard on the World Wide Web. Why am I repeating it? Because I trust the sources seemed to be impressive, or people that I would consider to just keep that in the back of my brain. Any thoughts on doing the second count as potentially being like a sweetening the deal for a Farwell to take a deal of any sort? Because if that was an extra charge, that it could make him want to cooperate or work with the prosecutors.
I mean, you don't have to, because they could always negotiate, and as part of a deal say, we will not bring this charge in the event if you plead guilty. You can do it this way as well, or it could also be a sign that maybe they're not so close to as everyone assumed, and there was discussion and nothing has happened yet, so they just add the additional charges there, as they move forward towards some kind of outcome. I mean, I don't think charging it or not officially gives them much more leverage, because they could lean on him even by threatening to charge it. But certainly it's an aggravating factor, and they're going to have to tell this guy, they're going to make him some kind of offer that he's not going to like. I mean, he is death penalty eligible.
Yes.
I doubt very much that they will seek the death penalty. It is a different Justice Department than existed a few years ago. That's true. So I would say it's more likely that the current permutation of the Justice Department would seek the death penalty than perhaps a year or two ago. But I don't think that this is the kind of case where they're probably going to do it. But they may very well threaten it and try to get a plea out of him. But a plea in this case, assuming he's guilty of killing a mother and her unborn child and whatnot. I mean, I think most people would say life in prison seems to be the appropriate punishment for that. So, in order to get him to plead to that, they're going to most likely lean, at least threatening the death penalty. I mean, that they use it as a cudgel, right?
Yeah. And I just have I have a question about kind of looking back at this, or from a macro level, right, Mr. Bederow? Like, we're seeing that Matthew Farwell is alleged. Again, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. Just saying, I feel very confident with the video evidence and everything else associated with Sandra's case, including but not limited to the thousands of text messages, the way that everything played out, that Matthew Farwell was the appropriate person to at least prosecute for this. But finding out, and we've known about this for a while since it was reported by the Boston Globe, that Matthew Farwell was not indeed the father of said baby, right? And when you look at that and you look at this man, the walls were closing in because of what he had done, in my opinion, right? Like what you had done, and like the grooming of a young woman from the age of 13, 15, having the first sexual encounter at age 15, as is documented in and confirmed in text messages between the two within a year before her death, but like reminiscing on it. So all I'm saying is, like, wow, when you look at this and you just say, he wasn't even, like, yes, his life would have blown up and he should have absolutely taken responsibility, and he was a criminal, and he was responsible for a lot of damage, and he should have paid for that. But he went a route that it's just, of ending the life of Sandra Birchmore and her unborn child that is just mind-boggling to me. Like, you look at that and it's like, oh my gosh, you threw away, now your other 3 children your dad is not with them, his wife, his family. And it's just it's just a lot to like process when you find out that wasn't his motive. What I believe was that she was going to have a baby that was his, and then to find out that wasn't the actual case is just like, it makes me sick.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give the one caveat: allegedly, he's pleaded not guilty. I mean, there's obviously not a small amount of evidence which would seem to point in his direction, but due process and whatnot.
Of course.
But if it turns out that he murdered a woman that he had a long-term relationship with out of fear that she was going to give birth to his child, and it turns out that he was factually wrong and just killed her and her unborn child for, in essence, nothing. Although, there's probably the fear of, her outing him and ruining his life as he saw fit. You look throughout the case and you say, you wish there were things that are just this poor woman didn't do. And how could she know it would ever end like this? But her, she was very happy apparently for having the child, which is good for a mother. But in this case, sad, because by her evincing that to him, that, may have created dark thoughts in his mind on how to handle that. On the other hand, her happiness of apparently having a child is just the exact opposite of somebody who would appear to have suicidal ideation. So that's not a great fact for him either. And it's certainly another bad look at the way this case was handled by everyone's favorite prosecutor's office, just ignoring all of these signs, which apparently are not consistent with somebody contemplating hanging herself, from a doorknob.
No. And it's jarring to know the facts of that. Michael Morrissey, Norfolk DA Michael Morrissey, okay, infamous, if you will, has yet to ever even acknowledge Sandra's death as anything but a self-checkout or suicide, right? I try to, like, for the I don't want it to get flagged, what we're talking about, but like her taking herself off this earth is the only way he will acknowledge this. And it is just, it's almost like a slap in the face to the Commonwealth. It is 100% a slap in the face to Sandra Birchmore's family, to her, to her life and to her unborn child's life, in my opinion.
Well, it's political, and he's the ultimate politician. I mean, he's a career hack. He is what he is. And he's so far down the road and under attack on everything that's happening. And it gets worse and worse by the day and week, as we see in the news with all kinds of issues related to the way they handle cases. But politically, what's he going to do? Say, we screwed the pooch on this, and yes, we screwed this up. I mean, if they admit they screwed up that, it's just going to draw more attention to, well, did you screw up Karen Reed? Did you screw up all these other cases? And they're not built that way. He is a political creature through and through. And politically, they're so far down the rabbit hole of fending off so many scandals and problems. The last thing they're going to do is say, we screwed up this case. And it involves the same cast of characters, or some of them anyway,
Yes.
in various police agencies. So they're not going to do it. I mean, they're just going to try to ignore it and hope it dies down, which of course it won't.
Yes. I totally agree. And I did want to correct a narrative that I said. I just want to do like facts matter, journalism, and science, right? Because as a woman in STEM, I always like to correct something. So I did a stream on this on Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. I don't know what day it was, but one day this week, I did a stream because I was like, oh, right. I was clutching the pearls, clenching, doing all the things. And so Matthew Farwell has a twin brother, okay? And William, I thought, was identical. It's not. It's a fraternal twin, okay? Because I was saying that the DNA, they would have known it was William if it was Matthew, because if it was identical twins, the only thing that's different is what? Boom, your fingerprints, right? Your DNA will match up. However, he still would have had, even if Matthew Farwell came back as 0.00% like chance of DNA paternity, if his twin brother and brother alone was the father, he would have come back as a 50% match, right? So it wouldn't have been that 0%. It would have been, this is a family member. This is not the
thing. And there's mitochondrial DNA from the maternal line. I mean, look, the answer is it's not them. I mean,
it's not them.
DNA is DNA is DNA. So somewhere out there is a mystery man, or not, depending on, what people assume or speculate. But it's not him. But that it doesn't change the case that dramatically.
No.
Prosecution will certainly argue he had every reason to believe it was him based upon the evidence that he had relations with her and whatnot. So the fact that he turns out to be wrong isn't of that much consequence in terms of proving the case against him.
Absolutely. And there was just this one article that I had posted, and it came out in September 15th. And I just wanted to read you a segment from it because it was regarding the post-commission attorney. And I said, oh, tell me more. Okay. So it said that Scoobity Beep Bop. Okay. So it goes into Divine, right? Oh, no, let's go just right over here. I'm so sorry. The Commission Division of Police and Standards wants to ban Divine, okay, who is now a lawyer, ew, by the by, because ew, from working in law enforcement, citing, quote, a pattern of untruthfulness, abuse of power, and unprofessional conduct. Attorney Sean Martinez, who represents the post-commission, revealed during his opening statement that federal prosecutors allege Divine contacted Birchmore on February 1st, 2021, the day Farwell allegedly strangled her in an evening visit to her apartment. Now, this is where, so this is like the big lie, right? So if you are knowing that Divine is having communication via, obviously, extractions, right? Okay, weird. Why was Divine calling Birchmore? Did he have any communications with Farwell? But here's where the plot thickens. It's when he said thickums. No other detail about communication was included in the redacted recordings. And it says attorney Robert Stowe, who represents Divine, during the hearing said that the case against his client is a big lie. But we do know that, oh gosh, where did it say that he, oh gosh, help us, Kim. The post-commission allegations against Divine include accusations that he had a sexual encounter with Birchmore while he was on duty in December of 2020, and falsely claimed that he didn't exchange electronic messages with her. Well, I'm no, listen, I'm no scientist. Don't put me in the back with petri dishes. Like I'm not reconstructing or, bringing life to the world. However, approximately 8 weeks before Sandra Birchmore was unalived on February 1st, when Divine allegedly called her that very same day, would be a December 2020 alleged sexual encounter with Divine. Oh, and this is from the Post. This is their attorneys. This isn't like this isn't Sandra Birchmore's family or their attorneys. This is from the friggin' Post Commission attorneys. Thoughts on that? Wow.
Sad. I mean, the whole thing, it's the abuse of this poor girl, between all of them, the way they just exploit and abuse. All this will play itself out. They just all look like garbage. I mean, whoever the father is, whoever's responsible for if they allegedly helped Farwell or not, they're just all dirtbags and just taking advantage of this, impressionable young woman. And, in essence, the allegation is they framed her for her own suicide. It's horrible. I mean, did I say a word I'm not supposed to say on your?
No, it's okay. You're good.
I know you guys use your own language for all these terms, but in any event, all of this is just gross and sad, and it's so remarkable that this case needed to end up in federal court. This is not a federal case. This is not the kind of case that should have ended. I mean, they had a charge basically murdering of a witness, which they can do legally, but you're really stretching the federal statutes to their breaking point to come up with federal jurisdiction, because the local authorities are so inept and or corrupt in what they were doing that the only way to even pretend to get some degree of responsibility for those who are in fact responsible is to stretch the federal criminal code to its breaking point, because you just can't trust the Norfolk DA. You can't trust the state police. You can't trust the Canton police. You can't trust the Stoughton police. It's just so gross.
Yes, it really is. And yeah, that's just where we are, I think, in Sandra's case at this point. I do want to say, continue to the voices. I'm so thankful for the people who were really front lines in Sandra's case. That would be like Kirk Minahan. KMS did the case season 2. Kirk Minahan, Dave Cullinane, and Mizzy, and also Suzanne Cleveland. Incredible. Just continuing to not forget her name and continue to say her name, and that it matters. It matters for all women in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It matters for all women in the United States of America. And it matters that police are held accountable when there are situations and circumstances that arise. You are never above the law. And, if you make your bed, you're going to be prepared to lie in it. And, a group of individuals who are awoken and see things for what they are a strong adversary to corruption, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's just all around. It's a horrible situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I don't like people, no offense, I did want to say just one other thing about ew, to anybody who wanted to talk some shit about she didn't know who the baby daddy was, or 8 to 10, you know what I mean? Oh, she told him it was him or whatever. I'm going to need you to F directly off. Okay.
That is classic victim blaming, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And it's also not relevant to the issue. She was almost certainly brutally killed and framed for her own death. Whatever her sexual practices were with one or more people is not a reason to somehow shame her or discredit what happened. That's I don't know. I'm not aware of that. I don't follow it obviously as closely as you do, but anybody who is somehow suggesting that that in any way makes her less of a victim in this because of, you know, her practices and her personal life. Shame on you. That's terrible.
Well, and not even, here's the thing, Mr. Bederow, it's like not even your practices or anything like that. You can believe something, right? And a DNA test would have eventually said, like, you could have been like, oh, like, whatever. And also, sidebar, you're all lucky. We're all lucky that our parents back in the olden days didn't have DNA tests everywhere. If you were married to somebody, you like.
None of this matters.
Yeah.
An element of the crime is not who the father of her expected child was. And again, the way a federal prosecutor is going to look at it, what is more relevant is not what Sandra knew or thought, which although she probably apparently did think it was him, but what Farwell thought, and to the extent that he thought that it might be his or that it would become a problem with him, goes to his intent and possible motive to end her life. That's the relevance of it, not the literal fact of who the father is.
Right.
What's going on in his mind and whether that established a motive for him to commit a terrible crime. And that would be indicative of his intent to intentionally end her life. So that's what matters. I mean, in a legal sense, the father of her child is irrelevant.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of just, I think the salacious, like people get sick their teeth into a salacious detail, right? And it's just like at the end of the day, look at this from it's human, it's loss of life. It is like, again, like you just said, a potential motive even in a circumstance for what somebody else thought. You could think whatever you want. Somebody else doing something could have been a potential motive because of a thought that clearly he might have had in his brain. So anywho, I'll just leave that there, but I don't want any, I will not engage in anybody or with anybody who has something negative to say about a girl who was a victim in her life, not only in the loss of her life, but throughout since she was 13 years old in that Explorers program. Okay. And, you know, like gross, check yourself before if you have a comment like that, just in my opinion, because I just don't think it's productive in anything.
Look, she and her unborn baby met a gruesome death, probably at the hands of a scumbag police officer who abused her. As he said, she was abused for years. I mean, what more do you want from her? I mean, let her rest in peace. Yes,
rest in peace, Sandra Birchmore and her unborn baby. That was just a wild putting that article with Divine and you know, after seeing the indictment of that second count, I just thank you so much for your take on it. And of course, guys, we're just opining an opinion. Mr. Bederow is clearly not, you know, giving us what's happening behind the scenes. Like he's not involved in a case.
I know nothing behind the scenes in this case. Nothing.
Yeah. Then we are, let's do a trot. And in Kelsey Fitzsimmons' case, she is on the books for the SJC hearing, correct? Is that accurate? Okay. Okay. And unfortunately, everything was denied from her appeals, like to Judge Kathleen, because I cannot say her last name nor remember it, the actual Judge Kathleen, with her tone. Okay. The tenor and tone of a real walking asshole. Judge Kathleen was like, denied. Then the one panel SJC was like, everything's good. I saw the transcript. It was a lady, SJC justice. And she at the time said denial, because what it looked like, I believe on paper of the dangerousness hearing was that, okay, she remanded, and it made sense. Well, Tim, my silver fox Bradel says that he puts in a new motion and he goes, "Hey, boo, I need you to listen to this. Okay. I want you panel of justices to actually listen to this audio. Okay. Hear it, because it's going to change what the words you saw on that paper, in my opinion, are how it actually happened." Do you have any thoughts on that, Mr. Bederow?
I mean, look, it's what you do. You appeal to get the whole court to hear it. They're going to hear it. And there's all kinds of arguments. There's just a fundamental fairness argument. In my understanding, and again, I didn't follow it that closely, is that the single justice may have used the wrong standard of review, which is certainly a basis to get the whole court to consider what you call de novo, meaning they can interpret the facts as they see fit without being bound and constricted by what the lower court did. And normally, when you have an appeal, normally, unless there is a de novo standard, that there's what they call an abuse of discretion standard, which means you accept the facts as below and apply the law, unless the lower court, abused her discretion in interpreting the facts, which is a very rare thing. And if you're constricted by the facts, often the law doesn't follow. I think that's what the single justice did. But if it's a de novo review, then, all bets are off. They can consider everything, including just the overall fairness of it all, which is just, I mean, this is another thing that's just, lawyers can argue law, sometimes put the law aside. This is just wrong. And again, I'm speaking solely on her bail conditions. I'm not talking about the case because I don't know that much about it. I think there were some issues with it, but I don't think you need to be a lawyer or a legal analyst or anyone to listen to the audio of that original hearing, which was not a revocation hearing. That was a defense motion just to adjust conditions. And I don't know anyone who would look at that and say that seems fair and the right thing to do. That it just, again, it's not even so much a legal thing. Obviously, you need the law to correct it, and you do need lawyers to do what's right. But just as a matter of common decency and the purpose of bail, what dangerousness is and what it isn't, it just comes off as a complete fiasco. It's just wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And it feels so weird to me, Mr. Bederow. Like, again, take your emotion out of it. Hard for me. Why? I'm a mom. I understand postpartum anxiety. I suffered from it. And to mothers that suffer from postpartum depression and up to and including postpartum psychosis, God bless you. You are not alone. Seek help. I know that it can feel so overwhelming at times. I know that motherhood generally, when I first was a mom, I was 23. I had just turned 20.
Jeez.
No, I was 23. And I just remember, and then I had my second baby 10 months later. I was out of my mind. Okay. Like, I would be up all day with Mia. I would be up all night with Olivia. And because one liked to party at night, one liked to party during the day. I can't help that. I can't change it. It is the system. I would be flipping the baby, old wives' tales, doing everything, rice in the bubba. I was handling it all. However, you become, your hormones are changing. You are also like so sleep deprived. There is so many things that are happening. And I just like, all I'm saying with that is that for a lot of mothers, we can relate, and we can relate to an internal struggle of like not seeking help. And I didn't tell anybody until I needed to tell somebody, right? It was my mom. Thank you, Noni. And she came over and let me sleep. And then I called my doctor. But there is a stigma still attached with it. Kelsey was seeking help, right? Then that incident happens that day. And I don't give one shit, Mr. Bederow, how you slice it. The incident on June 30th, 2025, only resulted in the shooting of Kelsey Fitzsimmons. Okay. She's the one shot. A weapon is discharged. She's shot. No bullet was discharged from her weapon. Okay. And you're still going to tell me that when you shot her in her house, that Judge Kathleen is talking shit in motion. We're writing stuff in motion saying like, oh, we need to protect Miss Officer Noonan and the community. Well, I'm sorry, babe. She wasn't the one who shot anybody. It was the opposite way around. And that is where the crux of it, you just can't, you can't see the fairness, in my opinion.
So this is where I get real careful about distinguishing between what's right and wrong at the bail versus the facts.
Sorry.
And when you get and you get into situations of self-defense and justification and potentially justifiable police shootings versus what may be a criminal act. And I mean, I have a lot of experience in trying self-defense cases, obviously under New York law, which perhaps is a little different than Massachusetts, but perhaps not. I don't know. But you can be legally justified in using force first if you reasonably and subjectively, both in New York, perceive the situation that, deadly force is about to be used at you.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you're a police officer, and I'm not talking about this in particular, I have no real opinion about this, but if a police officer perceives someone who's emotionally distraught, and if, again, I don't know whether this cop is credible or not, if she's pointing a gun at him, if that's what happened, which I know is a highly contested fact, okay, you don't have to wait to get shot before you shoot back if you even have the opportunity. In that situation, a person absolutely justified at using deadly force, center mass, and plugging someone, even if that's the first shot fired. So I wouldn't draw too much significance to she's the only one that was shot. Really, the issue factually is whether the officer had a good faith reason to believe that he had to. Now, again, you can get into that and all other kinds of things, but the bottom line is, she was not indicted for attempted murder. We know that. We know she had postpartum issues. That we know she's a young mother, and that there's this, domestic situation with the ex, whatever he is, which colors everything. And, you have to be skeptical of his motives and credibility in all of this. And the bottom line is when they found her or had a dangerousness hearing, the conditions were set, which presumably made her not be dangerous if she could comply with these conditions. And one of them was not using alcohol. And, again, forget the law, just get down to brass tacks, as they say. They offered another way, with the blessing of the probation department, by the way, to make her test for alcohol. And the bottom line is this nasty, nasty judge was very dismissive of the probation department, was very dismissive of the medical evidence offered, was very dismissive of counsel, was very dismissive of the client, and said, you do it my way or the highway. I don't want to hear about other alternatives. And if you can't do it, it's off to jail you go. And that's over a month already. And that's just not just.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that I might have not appropriately articulated myself with when I was only talking about when she was remanded, right? The incident that happened at the house, like 110%, that's going to have to play out the way that it has to play out. But once she was released, right? Once you've gotten out of, was at Mass General after multiple life-saving surgeries, then she's boomed. She goes to Chicopee, then it goes to court. She is let out, right? She's released on bail with those conditions. Couple of days later, less than a week later, she goes back in front of Judge Kathleen, and it was like, when she was remanded, that is where I just was thinking to myself, you already let her out. Like, what are we doing here?
That's the issue, as I see it. Possession is 9/10 of the law. If you determine that she's not dangerousness such that she requires being remanded to custody, as long as we can be satisfied that she's not consuming alcohol, that's the critical issue, the proof of non-consumption of alcohol. not so much the mechanism on how to prove that. The fact that they were saying she couldn't do it in this way because she's got lead in her chest and all these other injuries, and we're just looking for another way. How it turns out that if you don't do it the way that I agreed, as opposed to a different way, that somehow requires me to find her dangerousness or to be a danger, that she requires detention. That's arbitrary and capricious. That's nonsense. That's not the issue. It may be more annoying. It may, in getting her tested, and it may feel like, well, I'm accommodating her and she's a defendant and I don't want to do that. But the point is that has nothing to do with the factor of dangerousness. The factor that the judge cited was I need to make sure she's not consuming alcohol. So if there is a credible way that the defense proposes, with the blessing of probation, who is the expert, by the way, not the court, and the judge just says, my way or the highway, otherwise I'm going to find her dangerousness, that's arbitrary and capricious. That's biased. That's not just.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not. And there are like so many, again, I will need to have more detail and like get all, but I do wonder, like, why wasn't there, from all the reporting I've seen, I didn't see a female officer. I didn't see a best team member. And that is for best in Massachusetts is mental health, advocacy, especially when you're removing a child from a home. Like I just have questions of like, how, I mean, like, I get it, but I will still say that it feels a little bit yucky in the year 2025, Mr. Bederow, that somebody can go and claim and get an ex parte order on you, right? This is an order that came from a judge, for meaning that like there was immediate risk or harm to herself or someone else. But like, you don't, no one can respond. You're not allowed to say, like, you have no say in that. Like, that's wild to me. You can't present your facts.
I mean, the way these family situations, and this is in every state, and I mean, I'm seeing this right now in all kinds of other things, which we don't necessarily need to talk about in terms. Well, no, I mean other cases that you're familiar with, but the way the system is set up everywhere, in the first instance, when somebody goes to get an emergency, whether it's called an order of protection in New York, a protective order, or a restraining, or whatever the hell you want to call it, it's going to be ex parte initially. I mean, you're not going to serve, you're going to go run to get it. And the reality is that 99% of the time, when somebody goes on an emergency ex parte hearing and says something, a judge is going to rubber stamp it, because that's what happens. And then you get a hearing, you get due process later, but in the first instance, the temporary order is almost going to be granted 99 out of 100 times. And different states handle it in different ways. I mean, for example, in New York, you can't get an ex parte order on someone unless you go to a family court and there's some kind of relation. Okay, and by the way, relation includes a physical relationship, domestic. So you don't have to be married or literally family, or you go to the police and there's an arrest. Other states allow a third party just to go to a judge, like New Jersey, for example, and say, I have no relation to this person, but I feel like I'm being harassed and whatnot by this random third party, and a judge in New Jersey has the power to say, here's your temporary order, even though there is no jurisdiction domestically or anything like that. New Jersey just recognizes you can do it. Massachusetts perhaps does that too, but their standards are a little higher as well. You need a number of incidents and that kind of thing. New York has limits, you have to go to the police and there has to be an arrest. So it's different in every place, but the bottom line is, if you have the ability to be heard by a judge for an ex parte order, for an emergency temporary order, you're going to get it.
Well, and actually you explaining that to me, Mr. Bederow, makes sense, because here's the thing. Here is the thing. Loveys, you want to make sure that you want to be safe and not sorry. And if it is a family situation in regards to I'm just saying, right? Like it could be the one time, and there has been tragic circumstances where, you know, restraining orders in domestic violence or other things have not been renewed. Some people will say, well, a restraining order is only a piece of paper, boppity beep bop bop. But what I'll say is this: if there is a chance to protect a child, or there is something going on, I mean, I don't want there to be clearly like abuse of the system, but I want a child to be safe, right? So like, if this is what's being reported, I get that now, how you explained it.
That's the balance. I mean, the system is never going to err on the side of don't protect someone who is in desperate need of protection. But the other side of the coin is there are people who make things up. There are people who fabricate or exaggerate. And the reality is, if you went today in certain states and complained that I was harassing you and doing all these terrible things, it doesn't matter whether it's true or not. If you're willing to say it's true and tell a judge, guess what? You're going to get an order on me. That's just the way it is. And then I'll have a hearing and prove that you're full of it and deal with it that way. But that's
we found you to be harassing him, actually, Nurse Kim. You're the one who harasses Mr. Bederow.
Could be. But you're going to get it. I mean, that's the way it is. You're not going to close the courthouse doors to a person who may be in serious need of judicial intervention. I mean, the system's not perfect. It's not going to function by assuming that people are going to lie and exploit the system or seek an order of protection to use as a sword instead of a shield. But it does happen. I mean, that's just the reality. There's going to be situations where that does happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, just like a sidebar of making change and like affecting change in our voting and laws and things like that, Mr. Bederow, is that like I will never be able to understand that. Like, I would like if the world was a perfect place run by mothers of all of us, like to protect children. It's like I would want emergency services versus a courtroom making a decision. Meaning, like, for example, I would want an ER evaluation. I would want medical professionals versus courts. Do you know what I'm saying? Because like even with like social work and our case management, we would be able to indicate like, oh, Houston, we have a problem here. And we can do that based on even nonverbal cues. Okay. One time, my mother, the year is of our Lord, 1991. She is at a state hospital in Worcester. A little child comes into the emergency room. The mother said that there was a issue and that the child fell. Well, the little girl was sitting on my mother's lap, right? And she is a nurse. And the mother walked in, and the child, like the little girl, like wet herself, right? And my mother, like was there to comfort her and protect her, and she documented appropriately in the early 90s, 91. I remember the story, and of course, like not giving any indicators for privacy purposes, but like there are things that we are able to pick up that that people don't have to say a thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's just, and there was abuse happening, right? It was abuse, and she didn't break her arm. She didn't fall. Long story short is that there was things happening, right? And there was protection put in place for that baby and for that child, almost 5 years old. And it's just like, I sit here and I wonder, like, I get that the system is not perfect, but like, we should be including like at least medical professionals when making those decisions or evaluating in order to have the child's in a child situation, the child's best interests.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you want whatever's in the child's best interest, the best outcome, the best analysis, the best expertise. But I mean, in the initial instance, if somebody is saying I'm in fear and whatnot,
yeah, oh yeah,
the first thing they're going to do is either call the police or run to court and say I need an order. And there's you there's no other way to deal with it initially. And it's just the problem is there's going to be abuse of process. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's why when somebody gets an ex parte order, there is required to be a hearing on notice, satisfying due process, giving the accused the right to, give a version of events that is different, or discredit the allegations or demonstrate why an order is not required. But system's never going to be perfect, but there's going to be abuse. There's just no way around it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Did you, by any chance, did you see the reversal for Maya?
So I know nothing at all. I don't even know what this case is.
All right, never mind.
Florida thing, but I literally know nothing about it.
I think I fell in love with Peter's channel during this trial. This was the first trial I ever covered, Mr. Bederow. I did it on TikTok. And this case was why I got my legal nurse consulting, like why I wanted my certificate, because just for like patient advocacy, family advocacy, and trying to make a difference when you were up against conglomerates of either hospital systems or insurance companies or things of that nature. It can be there can be really bad outcomes, right? And I don't mean to be a buzzkill. I don't even know what this is. Well, she got the biggest settlement in Florida state history, and the courts, the appeal reversed it, and with just really heartbreaking, really just heartbreaking. And I think that she can only go back for specific claims now. Like she can't even go get, like, there are certain claims that are going to be taken out, and there was issues. Her legal team, oh, Mr. Bederow, you would have loved, 10 out of 10, top tier, was in love. It was a David and Goliath situation, okay? And I was just like, I could not, hashtag can't get enough. And like now there's infighting with the attorneys, and like oh God, just like everything that could have gone wrong since the verdict, like has, unfortunately. And I just pray for her and her family as well, because that was a system where unfortunately there was like medical kidnapping. She was taken into the hospital, and because of her CRPS, which is a very rare diagnosis, but the mother was trying to treat it effectively. She was a registered nurse, the mom, and like she was seeking alternative therapies, and people were like, you're abusing your kid. And she was like, absolutely, fuck off. So whatever, there was just it was a bad scene. And then the mother ended up she ended up taking her own life because she didn't think she would get her daughter back. So terrible. And I pray for that family, the Kowalskis. So leading into an update I saw yesterday, flabbergasted, bamboozled. I don't know who.
It sounds like you're going into something deep. I need my coffee break.
Oh, it's time for a Zabar's break, lovies.
I'll be right back.
All right, I'll be right here. Ooh, let's play a song. I'm going to do it. I still got a half a tea, Mr. Bederow. You ready, bud? Bum, 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 and new. We like to take a break or two. Don't you make it weird. Sure will. Can't help myself. Hashtag can't stop. Are you ready, babes? Oh, just kidding. We're going to put it over here. We're going to add it up. We're going to, ooh, are we? Share it. Yup. It's time for, Sorry, guys. This isn't, okay, here we go.
Clench.
Party. Wakey, eggs and bakey.
Here we
Thank you, Toy. Thank you, Roundhouse Media.
Scalpel so sharp when I step on the scene. Facts Ice on deck, my cut so clean. Dear little sweet, baby Jesus, grab that spleen. I clock your vitals while you spill that tea. Truth got pulse, you flatlined on me. I scrub and clean while y'all talk cheap. I chart receipts, no gossip sheets. Next patient, please, I don't treat deceit. Clutch those pearls, bitch, breathe. This is Nurse Kim's creed. Facts stay raw, I don't plead. Mic in my hand like Ivy's feet. Going for pressure, that's the Boston way. I bleed, no cap, truth in my veins. Runs facts all day. Talk your shit, but mind your speed. Cause clutching's part of the creed. Talk your shit, I sterilize scenes. Burn through lies like I'm autoclave steam. Mask on tight, can't breathe my air. Pressure so thick, it'll cold you there. Vitals jump when I walk in clean. Truth gets served while you spill that tea. Calm as a cut, no shakes, no plea. I make the facts bleed, pretty for free. Clutch those pearls, bitch, breathe. This is Nurse Kim's creed. Facts stay raw, I don't plead. Mic in my hand like Ivy's feet. Going for pressure, that's the boss.
Sorry.
Oof.
And we're back. Hoopsie doopsies. Hello, Mr. Bederow. What coffee are we drinking?
Zabar's.
A little Zabars.
Yeah.
I love that. Somebody wrote in the chat earlier. They said, hey, Mr. Bederow, I bought Zabar's coffee. It's exquisite. Do you have any, yeah, it's just exquisite. If I drank coffee, I'd be drinking Zabar's.
You should. It's good. That's why they've been around for 100 years.
Non-sponsored. Remember, people.
That's why they're still around and packed, even as the whole neighborhood's gone to crap around there. My old neighborhood, it's kind of depressing. But Zabar's is still kicking.
What's your old neighborhood?
The Upper West Side, Manhattan.
Oh. Quadrum. Okay. I wanted to go in, if it's okay with you, to discuss a little something. Oh, can we hear me? Okay. A little something that broke last night. Now, is it confirmed? No, I can't confirm it anywhere. But I have seen multiple sources report that one Sergeant Good, Shawnee Pants, Shawnee Boy, Good of Canton PD has been placed on suspension with pay. Thoughts, if true?
Well, that's number one, the big asterisk, if true. You don't want to speak in speculation and that sort of thing if it turns out not to be true. If, however, he is somehow linked to the Proctor scandal of messages and whatnot, and is the recipient of some of these racist, allegedly homophobic, God knows what else, then he's got a problem. And it's just, again, the metastasizing cancer of Michael Proctor. It spreads to everything, and he's poison, and everyone that he messaged with should be scared to death, because this stuff's going to come out. It's going to come out in certain cases. It's going to come out in eventually freedom of information requests that many people are going to make. There's no way to keep this under wraps. And the question is just, Proctor at this point is, he's disgraced. He's a joke. But the real issue is how far else in law enforcement, whether that's the state police, the Canton police, the DA's office, how far does it go? And if it's already spread to at least one Canton cop who, gave some pretty kind of bizarre testimony in this case. We got names spelled wrong. His report changed photographs to make it look worse. He left his 911 post to respond to the scene. Knows these people. Again, it's all bizarre, and it does call into question everything in that area of Massachusetts, what they do in law enforcement. But if he's suspended, we'll have to wait and see what it is. But I don't know where the rumor comes from or what the source of it is. I would just be careful to not jump to conclusions unless it's demonstrably true.
Absolutely. And I did want to, okay. So good for me, right? If I always thought there was something more there. And I mean that with, okay, just as an observer, it was like him taking that call, the non-emergency call from Kerry Roberts, right? I used to go over this all the time. And I thought his responses to things in that call, okay? And you couldn't really hear it first trial or I missed shit first trial, but when I actually got the recording, I got a copy of the recording itself and I played it, I clutched away, okay? So when he said, I'm sorry, I wasn't there, right? Like he's talking about, I mean, they're not saying you're at Brian Albert's house. She doesn't say he went to 34 Fairview. This is at 5:00 in the morning before Karen, Jen, and Kerry had gone back and gone to 34 Fairview, right? Sorry, they were at a blizzard party. And he goes, I wasn't there. I've been here all night. And I go, ew, weird. Because you know what? No, not for nothing. I've taken emergency calls. I've taken non-emergency calls. And there's in no way when somebody's calling me to ask if I've picked anyone up, which is not, have you transported them to the hospital? Pick somebody up meant, did you put anybody in the tank? Has anybody been clinked? Okay. And that was what Kerry was asking, not specifically like, we're thinking this could be a medical emergency. Like there was no friggin' like urgency or nerves, yet you got out of your house, Kerry, and you went over to Jen McCabe's house and in the middle of a blizzard, right? So if you're not nervous at all, why are you calling the police? I don't hear that in your voice. And I think that Good's responses were never really quite made sense to me. Then from there, Lank, this is ballsy, okay? This is bold. Mr. Bederow does not subscribe to my statement that is coming. I don't think Good ever went in that house into 34 Fairview. I have always thought it was Lank, okay? Because of the timeline, if you go back, I could do the police audit. I could bring up Canton police audit and everything. And the timeline in which they made does not equate to what was said on the stand by Lank or Good in trial 1, okay? And I will tell you this. I think that Lank was the closer. I don't think that Good had anything to whatever, but I think he said, I went in with you. I was in there with you. Don't worry. Like, I'll write that I was, but I don't think he ever was. And I don't think anybody ever looked outside of that little, when he said, well, I had my head in the door. I was in the foyer, right? But you didn't look for anything because you didn't give a shit. Because it was a family. Chris Albert was your friend. Kevin Albert, you knew from your police department. Dying.
Don't die.
Ooh, hold please. Your thoughts, Mr. Bederow.
I mean, I don't want to speculate. I don't know. What I can tell you is this. Let's wait and see if he's suspended. If so, you're silenced, by the way. Let's see if he's suspended. If so, breathe. If so,
Breathing.
why?
Hands up.
And go from there. And I mean, at that point, depending on what his relation to this Proctor mess is, I think it would call for some deeper scrutiny about what happened in January of 2022. But at least for now, I don't know anything about it other than what you're telling me, which is there were rumors that this guy was suspended. I think there are oddities with his testimony from the first trial.
Yeah.
None of these people seem to have testified in the second trial. But beyond that, I think it's it's a little speculative for right now, but but this Proctor thing is gonna go far and wide, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that, Mr. Bederow. Didn't mean to, what are you choking on your own, like, saliva, you weirdo? My bad.
I don't know CPR over a computer. Probably don't know it very well in person.
Listen, I would have thrown myself on the back of a chair. I'd Heimlich my way out. Don't you worry. But
you are a trainer. You can. Yeah.
I just something went down the wrong pipe. Like, what, spit, you weirdo? Okay. Anywho, I'm good. She's back to life. No worries. But yeah, like, I always thought I will be interested to see where that goes. And the report, I know that they have requested, like you said, the FOIAs to see, like, hey, what is this about? And will it be confirmed? If so, wow. Because I don't know about you, but the messages that Michael Proctor has sent and whom he has sent them to, I believe will have impacts in this Commonwealth of Massachusetts forever. Like for law and things that will change, because if I'm clear, I believe that, like, he was, I'd like to see, it's speculation, but I'd like to see whom he had sent messages to, what they were regarding, and the swift action of the Mass Police Association and their attorneys and their executive board. Let me know that with whatever it is that they even have access to at this point was enough for them to be that concerned.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can read the tea leaves. You know what he did public at Karen's case, so you know he's a misogynist. You know he's a pig. You know he's a dirtbag. You know he is biased investigatively. Then you see the recent motions that have been publicly filed going back and forth, mostly in the Walsh case, I guess.
Yeah.
But involving the King case directly, and it's pretty clear that you can probably add racist to misogynist. There is some suggestion that there's more than that. Again, investigative bias. It could impact all these other cases. We think it affects our cases as well. We don't have to discuss that. Those are in publicly filed motions. I mean, the guy is a mess, and he is a scandal in and of himself, but it's got to go way beyond him, because who did he send those messages to? If they went to other people in the state police, supervisors, other troopers, and they didn't do anything about it, or they responded, or, as Buchanan did in the other case, liked it, right? Which was his way of saying, what? I'm just acknowledging receipt. I mean, that was pathetic. Those people could be at risk too. If it relates to Good or other members of the Canton police, those people are potentially involved. I think you'd have to assume that a lot of these messages must have gone to his buddies, like that chain that you saw in Karen's case. I would imagine, no, I mean like his personal buddies. Oh. I would imagine that he would speak freely with them. But the reality is, you also know from Karen's case, the shocking degree with which this guy would speak freely with people like Buchanan and Tully. I mean, telling them about no nudes, all these things. I mean, the idea that he would speak that freely with his supervisors ought to scare the living bejesus out of anyone that's on his text chains, because if he's that comfortable speaking to his people at work, God only knows what he's telling other people and sharing.
Yeah, between his 9 best friends in first grade, I always thought that was weird. Also, right. I have been a huge proponent since the drop, actually randomly, in the Maya Kowalski case. There was information that was brought out by doctors making poor choices and really texting wild shit in text chains to each other, like predicting bad outcomes. And like, I will not be in a chain with people anymore. Like, I think everyone should really look at your group text messages and just say, like, hey, this could be used in a court of law, like for all of us, I don't know. I just think that it is something to really be aware of, and that, like, your buddies, somebody could be sending you something, right? Like, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, just like, that's not, I don't know. I just would not, I wouldn't want, God forbid, anyone to be offended by, or not offended, but like them think that I was just sitting in a chat. Like that guy, what was the name of the guy who, the friend that got up and wasn't able to read the text messages? It was Brennan that did it. I forget his name. I feel like it started with a D. But he was like, I didn't even know. Like, I was just one of the 9 best friends from first grade. I didn't do anything here. You know what I mean? And it's like, you have one dickhead and all the boys, you can't like keep up with. I don't think he was keeping up with what was saying. His name wasn't anywhere. He didn't respond to anything, yet he had to be the one to get called in. And it's like, well, that's your fucking, that's your guy. And you should have known that, sir. But he was even uncomfortable to read things. So like, I don't know. I just recommend to everybody, don't be on group chains with 9 best friends from first grade, unless you try, like, unless, they're not putting weird shit in there.
Some free generic legal advice to members of law enforcement. There is no distinction to using your private cell phone, idiots, versus your work one. Because if you create discoverable evidence, whether it be evidence of investigative bias or giglio material that discredits you, or you talk about cases which creates exculpatory or discoverable evidence, as a member of the prosecution team, if you will, that evidence is in the prosecution's possession, custody, or control, and you're obligated to disclose it. The fact that you think you're a slickster by doing it on your personal phone isn't going to do it. And all that's going to happen is you are going to see the practice is going to become, certainly in Norfolk County, and anybody that has any case with this cast of characters is demanding, perish the thought, write specific demands for discovery with big green crayon letters and whatnot, but demand that the prosecution speak to the cops and ask them point blank, do you have any discoverable evidence? And at that point, the cop has a choice: either turn it over or hope to God that nobody ever finds out another way. But, there's no distinction between personal and private phones if you're creating discoverable evidence. I never understood why, at the Twitter law school, there's a big distinction. But evidence that is within the prosecution's possession, custody, or control that's discoverable or otherwise exculpatory, it has to be disclosed. I mean, it's a due process thing to the defense. It's not about hurting, a police officer's feelings for being embarrassed because it's my personal phone. That's just not how it works.
Well, yeah, and I think we've discussed it, but I also had pulled up Mass State Police, like their own policies and procedures, and it says, hey, we give you a phone, and it specifically notes that if you are conducting police business or ethic, there's a concern or there's anything that has been discussed in text messages on your personal phone are discoverable, like, period. It says that. Sorry, like, are you new?
It's the most basic component of understanding discovery laws and Brady and Giglio and whatnot in every state in the union. And most people seem to realize that, except for, people who take Twitter correspondence law courses. It's just, there's no distinction. Evidence is discoverable if it's in the possession, custody, or control of the prosecution, full stop. You can't, hide it because it's, not official business. It is official business if it's discoverable, period, full stop.
Full stop. Now, I have a question that Rosemary Scapicchio, did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Look at, she's getting better, and I should be great because she's probably of my ilk with the O at the end of her name. I think she's one of me. I don't know. I'm just saying. And
if your name is Rosemary and you end in vowel, I'm going out on a limb here. I'm gonna say that you're Paisan. That's just a guess.
Oh gosh, you're good in the morning with zingers for me. Okay, you just are really keeping me on my toes, Mr. Bederow. So yes, Rosemary. Scapiccio, aka Paisan, cousin, of our people. Okay, she probably is, hopefully Sicilian. Just saying. Okay, so when she was arguing, I was just wondering because like she had made points about the feds, right? And I was wondering, how is it when the text messages from Proctor are going to be determined, that is prosecution, it's non-related to the feds, it's only like discoverable regarding the King case specifically and the other cases associated. But what I was wondering is, who is determining, Mr. Bederow, if something is discoverable or if something is exculpatory? Because doesn't the defense have to be turned? Wouldn't you turn everything over, not like make a decision? Or how does that differentiate? Can you explain that?
Part of the problem with how things culturally occur in Norfolk County. It is up to the defense and only the defense to determine what evidence is favorable or may be useful and may lead to other evidence. It doesn't even have to be admissible. So, but the way the system is set up, you have to rely upon the prosecution in the first instance to turn over what is even remotely possibly discoverable or exculpatory. And the way in most jurisdictions, if there is a question about whether something ought to be disclosed or not, what a prosecutor should do is give it to the court in camera for the court to determine and turn it over. Okay. But I mean, we're seeing this firsthand in our case right now and trying to get the Proctor stuff, and you see it elsewhere. They seem to have a policy in Norfolk County, which is wonderful that they have a policy, but their policy doesn't trump, the United States Constitution and the 14th Amendment and due process and all of that. Mm-hmm. And Brady, Giglio, and Rule 14. If there is evidence that may be favorable, you turn it over. You don't get to decide as the prosecutor. You turn it over, and then if you think that the evidence should not be allowed to be used, you file a motion to exclude it, a motion in limine, or you make whatever appropriate motion there is to prevent it. But you can't have the fox watching the chicken coop, which is what you basically have when they decide, we'll tell you what's favorable and what's not. Trust us, bro. That's how it works in Norfolk County. Just trust us, because we have such a good, solid record of disclosing evidence that you ought to get. I mean, you saw this just recently with us. There is evidence that the DA's office is giving the public in the form of Freedom of Information Act responses that is clearly discoverable to a criminal defendant, and we don't have it. Now, if that gives you confidence in their ability to properly disclose evidence, you should probably get your head checked, right? So, but again, the system can't function in the first instance by not assuming that the vast majority of prosecutors will do it fairly, honestly, and professionally. And the penalty is, if they don't, that there can be serious sanctions and cases can fall apart, which you may be seeing with all this Proctor stuff right now. But the answer is, they're supposed to turn over anything that is even remotely favorable, certainly anything that's discoverable, not saying we don't think it's relevant, we don't think you get it. But that appears to be the general practice in that county, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it truly is. And it doesn't make sense. There are multiple cases, there are multiple families, there are multiple victims and defendants that have been impacted by the specific kind of way of doing things that has just been status quo or acceptable for an extended period of time. Oh my gosh, this dog is literally prancing. He is a prancer. I've tried to pick him up. He refuses to be picked. Okay. I said, you want to? He goes, no, he doesn't. Okay. And then I go, sir, can you walk away? Then he comes back over. He's back under I can't. Hello. So yeah, like I just was thinking that it will never make sense that what is standard practice or what should be standard in the seeking of truth and doing justice, right? Just doesn't it kind of never fails to amaze me the lengths in which Norfolk County seems to be an outlier in certain areas.
Certainly hope so. I mean, you wouldn't want this to be the norm. I mean, look, there's a crisis in Norfolk County law enforcement. I mean, everybody knows that. I mean, the state police are a mess. The DA's office is a mess. These cases are being jeopardized. People are being prosecuted for a lot of things that don't make a lot of sense to a lot of people. There's just scandal after scandal. You just hope that it's not everywhere, but certainly in Norfolk County, it's a problem.
Yeah. Any updates in your cases that we could talk about, Mr. Bederow, that I have seen or I didn't see?
I mean, whatever is public generally. I mean, I don't have talking points. If you have specific questions, I may or may not be able to answer it. But
the Proctor motion, or the motion for just inclusion kind of in those cases that were associated because of Michael Proctor's hands in all cookie jars, that had already been filed before last Sunday service. But how long do they have typically to respond to that? I forget.
in whatever they want. I mean, look, I don't know how they're going to respond to the Proctor motion. That's a new one. The other series of motions that were supposed to have been responded to on October 27th, they got an extension to November 17th for that. And then, of course, we'll have oral argument on a whole number of issues December 5th. But as far as the Proctor motion, they have to respond. I mean, their position is very clear. Their position is that Proctor is not a witness, therefore, and he wasn't a part of the investigation, so we don't have to disclose anything. And again, our position is you're wrong, number one, but number two, that's not the issue. You don't get to hold discoverable and exculpatory evidence that we might put to use to show that the investigation was done in bad faith or was incompetent or shoddy or whatnot. And they just, again, the U.S. Supreme Court has spoken on this about the right to present a bad police investigation or a bad faith investigation. All the lawyers know it. It's Kyles versus Whitley. It's a Supreme Court case from you're going to write it down. From
Yes, I am.
514 U.S. 419. Okay. Well, it's a common case, so it's one that you remember. But you're allowed to argue these things, and again, if there's evidence, it ought to be disclosed. But some of this also is just bad form. What a transparent prosecutor's office ought to do with a train wreck like Michael Proctor, and this has nothing to do with any particular case. I'm speaking generally. They should take the Proctor evidence. If they want to put it under a protective order to make sure stuff doesn't leak out, that's fine. But then they should push the whole pile to the middle, show the lawyers that have cases with Proctor, and say, this is what we have. We're being transparent, not pick and choose and say, you don't get to see it, you do. He's not a part of this. And again, in any particular case, if you think that the evidence is too far afield, it's not relevant, it's not important, then you have remedies to prevent the other side from using evidence. But they should not be concealing this evidence. They should be open. They should be shining a light. They should be saying, we don't condone any of this. And they're not. They're protecting. They're still too hyper-focused on protecting any one particular criminal case rather than being transparent and say, we condemn this crap.
Yeah, and I do wonder, why though? It just doesn't make sense. Accountability.
gratuitous. They don't. I mean, look, this Miles King case is a perfect example. There appears to be some serious evidence of guilt, due process, all of that. He appears to be, commit a very violent act, whatever. But the reality is that case is becoming in jeopardy. And if there are racist messages about him that impact the lead investigator's credibility or show investigative bias in the hands of a skilled attorney like he has, that case is in jeopardy. I mean, the most fascinating part of that case, if you watch this kind of stuff, is going to be jury selection. Okay. Because if he gets a jury that is open to these concepts of fairness, bias, and whatnot, and perhaps, maybe more offended by that kind of stuff, then who the hell knows what's going to happen with that.
Wow. Yeah. Like my head spins really, if you think about it. If you think about him and we always go back to the head scratch moment of Adam Lally and just the lack of urgency, the lack of integrity in fairness, in justice, in requesting anything. With the warrants, it's just wild.
You'll never see in your life a better example of just complete and breathtaking indifference to your role as prosecutor as you will have seen in that testimony from a couple of months ago. Just the complete lack of intellectual curiosity, of professional responsibility, of concern for a defendant's right to due process, of concern about possible misconduct by, of all people, Michael Proctor. What you saw in that hearing was a lawyer on the witness stand who seemed to be more concerned about roast beef or turkey for lunch than he was about why I'm not disclosing evidence to a murder defendant for years, and despite all of these red flags, and just jeopardizing the case and just having no professional responsibility or curiosity. And this is a guy they give their biggest cases to. Yeah. What does that tell them about? I mean, if it's happening in Miles King, is it any shock that this happened in Karen Reed?
No.
And beyond?
No, and that's a real head scratcher too, Mr. Bederow. If you're looking at Adam Lally as like your Yokomono, or who's the guy who is the Dodgers pitcher? Who's the guy who Yamamoto?
Close.
Okay, close. I was trying.
Kimono. I mean, I get it.
Yeah. Yakumono, right? Yakumono, Yamamoto. Okay, so here was the thing. He can pitch. He can also hit home runs. It's abnormal.
That you're talking about Otani.
Osani. There he is. Okay, Yamamoto. Yeah, all of them. Otani. Thank you. Him. Okay, him as an example. You can strike someone out. You can also hit like a grand slam. Weird. Okay, it is. You are Superman. Here's the thing. I just need you to do one, right? Can you hit a home run when you need it? Or can you pitch the ball and call balls and strikes, right? Like, can we hope that we have like a pitcher, a ump that is going to call it correctly? Great. When you're looking at Adam Lally, okay, and he's the star, okay? He's the Ohani of Norfolk County. He's 20 years as a prosecutor. He's put on the biggest, the most high profile cases. What? I mean, you want to talk about somebody who was just, in my opinion,
there might be
a lackluster.
There might be a problem in the DA's office if your star prosecutor takes years to disclose search warrants on a murder case, and at the same time doesn't know how to turn over video and turns it over bit by bit by bit. And when you do turn it over, it's inverted and you don't tell anyone. I mean, look, if that's your guy, you got a problem.
You got a problem.
You got a big problem. And there's just no accountability. There's never been any explanation or justification for what happened in Karen's case. And you know, it's interesting because they threw Proctor under the bus about the video when they had the motion to dismiss in Karen's case, where they basically said, well, Proctor stuffed the video in his back pocket for 2 years and none of us knew. Now, if you believe that, that tells you that Proctor is corrupt and stupid, which are not mutually exclusive, by the way. And it also tells you that, once again, Lally lacks any intellectual curiosity and is indifferent. But when you now, after you saw what they said about, well, nobody knew, and Proctor held the video for a year or 2 years, after you learn that, then comes the testimony in Miles King, and here's Lally's testimony. He says, well, I didn't know about the search warrants either, even though I wrote them with Proctor. I didn't know. I didn't get them for years. He didn't say anything. He gave me a couple of pages. How many times are they going to use the same bullshit story again and again and then just shrug their shoulders and say, who cares? And these are on their high-profile murder cases. I mean, the place is like, this is beyond inexplicable.
It is. It is beyond inexplicable. And it is something that it's what? I'm sorry, Mr. Bederow?
Absurd.
Yeah. Yeah. And for the families of everybody, and for, like we said, victims, for defendants, for the Commonwealth, for the people you represent, it is just a black stain. It's a bit of not a bit. It is an embarrassment, and there needs to be an accountability. Why can't there be accountability? I just don't get it. Like, we're all human. This is not saying that, like, you're not allowed to make mistakes. We have crossed a threshold, in my opinion, that this is, I know that you said that corruption and stupidity are not mutually exclusive, and I will use that in the future because bazinga, but also, sidebar, fuck off and do the right thing. You know what I mean? Like, actually do the right thing for what you came here, like what you got into this for. You are here for the people, by the people, to represent, to do the right, to do justice.
Mistakes,
and it's like, no, okay.
Mistakes happen. Everybody does that. But
yeah,
turning over search warrants for years, that's not a mistake. That is probably a corrupt act, and in any event, just a complete lack of indifference. Sending racist messages about an investigative target, or saying, I don't need to do this because he's guilty and I hope he does this, or whatever, we'll find out eventually what it is. Those aren't mistakes. These are corrupt, irresponsible acts by bad actors. And if somebody who perhaps is factually guilty of a terrible crime gets acquitted because of Proctor's corruption, his racism, Lally's indifference, and everything else, then, that's for the DA to answer. And, I'm sure he won't. I'm sure he'll say the jury has spoken and nothing else. And I don't know that that's going to happen. I mean, there's a lot left to come out about that case and what the evidence really is and what happens. But these are own goals that are created by just an office that has rot in it. It has rot in the state police. It appears to have rot in certain prosecutors, and it can extend unfairly to other prosecutors who are good and credible and honest because they're associated with the office. And when they say that, members of the public, jurors may say, oh, you're with those people, so you, and that's not fair to them either. And I'm sure it's embarrassing for the good ones.
Yes. And one bad apple, unfortunately, can ruin the whole bunch at times. But if you can cut off the supply of the bad apple, then maybe things could be saved and turned around and fumigated. That you've always made the best, to me, analogies, right? Is that you have said, Kim, the Norfolk DA's office years ago, Mr. Bederow, literally almost 2 years ago, you'd say this needs as soon as there were after the first trial, I think that you were 100% 2024, like July 2024, you were like, hi, this is like, you tried to give benefit of the doubt for as long as humanly possible. When there kept being like additional layers to the onion and where the rot was, you were like, no, fumigate. It's time. No questions asked. Like, there has to be an entire reset, because if not, the cogs will just, like, the wheel will not be broken.
They need to start over. The corruption and the bad practices, the lack of best practices, everything about the way things are done in that county is bad. And that's why the public has no confidence. That anyone in the state police associated with that office has to go. And whoever comes in new has to gut the whole place, fumigate. And if there are, good prosecutors, if you can convince them to come back, they should, because, the trains do need to still run on time. You can't have nobody, but you have to find the right ones. But in a general sense, the office as it is a mess. I mean, and it's a mess at the top. Some of the high-level prosecutors, as you've seen in some of the cases we've been discussing, is a mess. It's a mess with the state police. Their discovery practices appear to be a mess. It's a disaster, and it's time for change, top to bottom.
Totally agreed.
Rocket science. And if they're lucky, they'll find the credible people and convince them to stay on board and help and start over. But the place lacks credibility right now. I don't think that's a controversial take. I think that's common sense.
Yeah, it's not a controversial take at all. Now, quick question. I was just wondering, how in the world, I'll end with this. When it comes to the lack of, because you're a man who believes in timely appearances, okay? You believe facts matter, journalism, facts matter, justice, facts matter, Kim be here on time, okay? These are things that matter. There is no, right to a fair trial in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, or not a fair trial, a speedy, like a speedy trial. There's none of that shit?
Not practically speaking. I mean, things just kind of get kicked down the road, and there doesn't seem to be any real process of calculate. I mean, for example, in New York, there is, every lawyer knows this, it's called 3030. It's the speedy trial statute, and it is rigid. And although it doesn't apply in homicide cases, so that's a little different. But there are certain reasons for adjournments, and if they don't do certain things on time, they get charged X many days. And if you get past 6 months on a felony non-homicide case, it gets dismissed, period. On a misdemeanor, it would get dismissed in 90 days if things are not done. And there doesn't seem to be that level of concern in Massachusetts. But again, culturally, jurisdictions are different. I mean, in Massachusetts, it seems everything is done on formal motion. It's that's unique to me. That's not normal in jurisdictions that I deal with on a regular basis. But you have to go by the rules of where the game is being played, so you just have to adjust.
Yeah. I just, that boggles my mind, that the mega motion, and I understand, they already got more time. Then now they've gotten, you said it was supposed to be responded to by October 27th. They were given another extension to November 17th. The next court date for Aiden is scheduled for December 5th. I will be there, just to support and cover. I'm like, oh my gosh, how are you doing? And then it's interesting to me, though. It should be in front of Krupp instead of it was Doolin. Now it's Krupp. And I just question, if they were unable to respond. We know that we have prosecutor Cosgrove, who God bless him, is very out of whack, in my opinion, with regards to the 2024 case, then still saying that he has any right to be or should be remain on the 2023 case due to the overwhelming conflicts. But do you think that there will be any response by the 17th, or will they be given till December 5th? And then you guys go in and then you're supposed to be arguing all these motions and we still don't even have a resolution on the mega motion.
The prosecutor represented that he needed more time to respond and filed an affidavit explaining why. The court accepted that and gave a new date, and I have to assume that they will honor it. I mean, I'm not going to literally just be so skeptical and jaded that they're not going to do it. If it weren't responded to, we would deal with it at that time. But I have no reason to believe that they will not comply with the direction of the court. So if they respond on November 17th, that's plenty of time for December 5th for us to do what we need to do.
Okay, because like I just don't know how you guys do that, because like just talking about like common, like not even common courtesy, like courtesy for the law. Yeah, well, I get that, Mr. Bederow, and I know that you go where you're sent, but like at the end of the day, also my time matters and my client's time matters, and the taxpayers' time fucking matters. Like things matter, and it appears like Joy Mahar says, if they kick this can down the road anymore, I will scream. I feel like it not like a delay tactic. I'm not trying to throw out any crafty shit here, but what I just mean is that you knew all the way at the last court date. I understood that they had already had an extended amount of time. They were like, it was a big motion. Oh. And he gets the extension to the October 27th. And it's like, you couldn't figure that out in that time. And I just think that there should be a standard of practice that is adhered to out of fairness, out of the rule of law and fairness, not about you getting special treatment, Aiden or Karen or, anybody else. You don't deserve special treatment. What you do deserve is what has been set in place and is policy and procedure. And when you don't adhere to what you've judges put on the books, it feels aggressive, or it feels like there is a lack of understanding for how that could be perceived outside of that courtroom.
Again, they asked for more time. They got it.
Sorry.
Have there ever been times in my professional life that for whatever reason, sought an extension? Normally, unless there's a reason not to, it's customary, if there's a good faith basis for it, to do it. I mean, we weren't heard on this. We didn't ask to be heard on it. The court granted them more time. The reality is, it is what it is. And we have a court date. It's circled. We have oral argument. We think it'll be compelling. If the papers come October 27th and they come November 17th, it's not going to change what I argue on that day. It's not going to do anything. The only thing it does is, and maybe this is also a Massachusetts thing, you don't usually get, a surreply or where I come from, you file a motion, a real motion. I'm not talking about what we would call just a garden variety omnibus motion, but a heavy, nuanced motion. They respond, and then as the moving party, you get to file a reply brief. Is that going to happen here? Probably not with that timeline, but I think, there's no schedule for it anyway. So I think what'll happen is it's just all going to be done at oral argument, and that's what it is. I mean, it's not anything we're going to lose sleep over. I'm not surprised they asked for an extension. I'm not surprised it was granted, but I don't care either, to be honest with you. It doesn't affect what we're going to do on December 5th because they need a couple of extra weeks to write whatever it is they're going to write.
Understood. And on that note, Mr. Bederow, I wanted to say you're the best to ever do it. You are my favorite part of a Sunday morning. There is nothing, better than a little bit of Zabar's, a little bit of Dunkin's, okay? A little Dunkin' tea, and Mr. Bederow and me. Stop it. I know that we have a 1:00 game. Your Patriots hoodie, exceptional, okay? I love it. I do. Is it new? Is it older? Where did you get it? Tell me.
This is relatively newer. I'm more partial to the old Patriots logo from like the lean years, Pat Patriot rather than Flying Elvis, if you will. I thought they should have gone back to it after Brady left. That was the perfect time to the era was over, but they haven't done that yet. But I'm still partial to the old logo.
I love it. I love it. You look sharp. You're incredible. We've come together on a fallback Sunday after a loss that I felt not only spiritually, but also via my pockets. Okay. Freaking again, Montante, I'm not betting you again. And I hope that we move forward this week in a positive manner. I am hoping for, manifestation, positivity, potential recusals. Who the hell knows? Who am I? But what I will say is there is no one better on the World Wide Web and in real life. How about that? IRL, you slay, King. And I thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Be well.
Have a good day, Mr. Bederow.
Bye-bye.
All right, lovies. I love everything about you. Thank you so much for joining me on a fallback Sunday service. I'm blacked the fuck out. We know I've got to go, get another tea. Okay. Figure your life out. Take these pearls off. Okay. Do something. I have a piece of unknown origin in my eyeball. I think it's like, I don't know, it might be a hair. Okay. We'll figure it out. I wish you a wonderful rest of your Sunday. Go Patriots. Go Aiden. Go Karen. Go Lindsay. Go away. I don't know. I'm saying all the things. Love your face. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Great job on the news.
Thank you.
We will, Courtney and I will share what happened when we went to dinner last night, Sunday dinner coming up. And as